Hello, my name is Emily Cooper, and my second paper is on Crown Brew. So, cultural space is defined as the communicative practices that construct meanings in, through, and about particular places, as described in the book. And my own understanding of cultural space is that it's a community or space that has its own culture. So, I picked Crown Brew as my cultural space for my essay because I think it has its own culture that is very different from other coffee shops and other places in general in Southern Illinois. It qualifies as such because it has this unique culture that has this sophisticated elegance type um, quality to it. And that kind of like leads me into the themes that emerge from Crown Brew of simplicity and elegance. And so, for example, in my paper, I talk about how the glasses, the bags of coffee, the mugs, everything else is placed in an orderly fashion alongside the walls to give this clean presentation, and it gives a culture space that theme of simplicity and elegance. As one can see in this picture, you can see that everything in there is placed in an orderly fashion, but it's placed on purpose to give that theme of simplicity and elegance. So, like anywhere else, it has a mixture of verbal and nonverbal communication. And so, starting out with verbal, this theme of simplicity and elegance stems from verbal communication. So, when someone walks through the front door, they're immediately welcomed by the workers behind the counter and obviously now wearing masks. And it's this pleasant conversation that allows for the simplicity and elegance theme to kind of rise up, and so it allows for this quiet yet sophisticated conversations about anything and honestly nothing in particular, between groups of people, between one-on-one, between oneself. And so in my paper, I include, rarely does one find a teen walking through the doors loudly and offering their phone to a wall as a placeholder for a TikTok, for example. And so it kind of shows you that this place is kind of very, very firm in their simplicity and elegance themes. And so, with verbal communication comes nonverbal communication, and this is through that use of wooden shelves, greenery to portray its cultural setting, and it enhances the brick that forms the walls by showcasing two earthy colored, simplistic, and elegant murals over top these bricks. And so all the walls are pretty much covered in this dark charcoal blue that flows into this mural, as you can see in this picture, kind of in that back corner. This simplistic details create beauty that is honestly unmatched. And speaking of a coffee shop, the coffee itself matches this theme from this verbal and nonverbal communications. It's simple yet elegant in its creation, handling, and presentation. Their menu is small compared to other coffee shops, and they offer only roughly 7 coffees and about 3 other type of beverages. So one can kind of see that it structures its coffee, which this whole place is surrounded by simplistic yet elegant type of creations. And so, speaking of like power relations in this space, it's honestly by those who follow this sophisticated nature of this space, kind of tying into these themes, this relationship between the people, the space, and the power is kind of like showcased in this quote from one of my sources. It says, "The relationship between space, power, and identity are necessarily mediated by symbols. A symbol is a concrete reality, for example, like the building that I'm talking about, that creates something intangible, an idea, a value, a feeling. Consequently, a place of power is by the definition a symbolic place, which is a vehicle for this power in a spatial order of and for space in the order of power. So therefore, power works in this space by signifying that this sophisticated atmosphere is created by this physical building, and it relates to the power of the space that kind of ties into what I had previously talked about in that first bullet point of, those who follow this sophisticated nature of this space is allowed that power within this space. And it kind of forms this sense that we are all capable of experiencing this power when we step foot inside this elegant atmosphere that is housed within the walls of these buildings. And so, kind of my takeaways from Crown Brew is that I've learned that before sitting down and writing this essay, I never genuinely kind of thought about how elegant and sophisticated and simplistic it is due to the culture that is housed in this particular coffee shop. And so after writing this essay, I can now see that this coffee shop is not just a shop or a building, but an experience, an elegant experience. So when I'm in this space, I feel mature, I feel wise, and capable of anything. This feeling that I feel in this space is different from when I'm away from this space, because I'm lacking that surrounding of that constant aroma of polished being. This space impacts my cultural identity because it reflects what I aspire to be. Simplistic but bold in my own way, it encourages me to hold myself high but not disingenuinely. And then that's my works cited.